Here we are at the final elemental top 10 for the channel, that being the Undead element, and clearly I have saved the best for last right here, since the Undead is quite an interesting element to say the least, with a big, should we say, range in quality between all of the different Skylanders. And there is another good reason behind why this is obviously the best that I've saved for last, because I have a very special guest today, that being Krypt Krusher. So without further ado, it's time for him to introduce himself.
Hello everybody, my name is Krypt Krusher, and if you haven't seen me before, I have a YouTube channel. I do Skylanders, Nintendo, things like that, and I am a good friend with Ignite the Fire, who has asked me to do my top 5 Undead Skylanders, which I will happily do for him. So let's get started right now. So my number 5 is got to be Grim Creeper. He's a very cool looking guy, and I mainly like him because he's so overpowered in the game that he's in. His main way of attacking is with his ghost scythe, and it's very powerful, especially when you get upgrades. You can swing it around, you can throw it at enemies and it'll spin at them for ages, and much more cool combinations. But one of the coolest parts about Grim Creeper is the fact that I've got his light core version, which means that when I put him on the portal, some of his parts will glow, which I think is a nice touch. It doesn't really do anything, but it's really nice to look at. Let's just say that if I was ever playing Nightmare Mode, Grim Creeper would be my go-to guy.
For my personal number 5, I have Fright Rider. Now, as you can tell, because I have a background on my PC, I decided not to go to a real-life graveyard to record this, which was my original plan, because I felt like recording next to the actual real graves was a bit disrespectful. For that, and I couldn't create this awesome illusion of a hand erupting from underneath the graves, so having the little image on the PC in the background is far superior, I'd reckon. Now, as you can tell, my Nintendo Switch is back in its traditional spot with brand new Joy-Cons, might I also add, although the colours for those don't really match the whole darkened theme of the undead element, but that doesn't really matter all that much because they look awesome and everything. But enough of my blabbering on right here. We're going to look at my personal number 5 on the list, that being none other than Fright Rider. Now, of course, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned about how interesting the Undead element is, and it's unfortunate that I can only pick 5 Undead Skylanders for my own list here, because there are just so many of these characters that I like. So because of it, Fright Rider's barely scraped number 5 for me, and I love this dude. He's got everything I want to look for within a Skylander. He's got, of course, for design elements to him, that skeleton ostrich, it just looks awesome. And it's very fitting for design as well to have Rider right on top of Fright like that. It just looks really cool in terms of the posing, and it's a really great design because of it. And the colours, not to mention, they also contrast each other very nicely with the red and the black, not only making a good contrast and helping this character to stand out, but it's also a realistic colour palette because, of course, you know, since the ostrich is, of course, a skeleton, it should be as white as it is, and it should have the details it should, because, you know, bones, whilst they are hard, also, you know, get a little chipped and scratched from time to time. So as you can tell, Fright has those sorts of details all over its beak and its head and everything. So Fright Rider is just really enjoyable on a design standpoint as well as a personality standpoint. But what I love about Fright Rider most is his perfect blend of gameplay. He has speed, he has power, and he has some very good looking animations as well. Not only are his combinations very powerful, but just so much fun to watch, especially for one where Fright flips off where Rider even flips off Fright to create this huge laser shock with his spear. It's just a very smooth looking animation, and again, for power, it's just cherry on top of a cake. So, Fright Rider is a respectable character for me, based on his speed, his power, and his design, and we're still only at number 5.
My pick for number 4 is Night Shift. Night Shift is another really cool looking guy. He's not as powerful as Grim Creeper, but his overall look kind of makes up for it. Also, the idea of the Skylander is really creative, and I think that they did a good job making him. This guy is pretty original, and also, he's a vampire. Like, how cool is that? Even one of his attacks, he can bite people and then he gains health whilst taking off their health. And don't get me started on his bottom half. Doesn't really actually have a bottom half, it's kind of just mist. But he can use this mist to teleport around, and if you get upgrades, it can damage enemies. And Skylanders Swap Force pretty clearly wanted this guy to be noticed, which is why he got his own animation along with Freeze Blade. It's pretty cool, go check it out.
The best game I find for the Undead element was easily Swap Force, because Night Shift isn't the only good Swap Force character. I also find Rattleshake to be a lot of fun. His venomized snake gun with his little snake ally is a very effective means of taking down enemies, and it's really fun as well. It has some really cool animations to it, and it's a really wacky cartoony design that fits the Skylanders aesthetic quite well, especially since Rattleshake is a snake which uses a snake venomized gun, might I also add, and the face on that snake is very expressive and, as I said before, very cartoony, so I love the look and the appeal of this character. And as I've already stated before in game, he's he's really effective and just fun to utilize due to good attacks and fun gameplay all the same, which is why Rattleshake is found as a slot at number 4 on the list right here.
My number 3 is Chop Chop. I think you all thought that Chop Chop would be on this list because he is the son of my favourite Skylander. But anyway, not only is Chop Chop Krypt King's son, but he's also really cool looking, and he was one of the first Skylanders that I ever got, and he's pretty awesome. There's actually kind of a sad story behind this Chop Chop, because my original Chop Chop, which came out in Sparrow's Adventure, I lost it. So I had to get the one from Giants, which is the Series 2 Chop Chop. So you're probably thinking, he wasn't one of your first Skylanders, he came out in Skylanders Giants. Well, now you know, quite a sad story.
So, number 3 is Shortcut. Now, Shortcut's just like the characters preceding him, has some really cool animations. The fact that he kind of like phases a little when you snip so fast with him, that he's actually moving faster than the speed of light, causing that phasing. It's just a really thought out and really awesome animation to look at. And that really improves his gameplay, sort to say. He might be a bit of a button masher, but that doesn't take away from how much fun he is to watch and to play with. But easily the best part about this character is the design. I love the fact that it's a short little goblin guy with massive, huge scissors, and of course he has stitches from where he scarred himself, probably from using such big scissors. So it's a very well thought out, very cool looking design. And it's very unique in terms of the Skylanders franchise, because that's another thing I respect about the Undead element. It creates some very uniquely designed Skylanders. Like, honestly, there are no other Skylanders in this franchise like Undead Skylanders.
My number 2 is Funny Bone. I'm not joking when I say this guy is pretty awesome. Not only is this guy full of puns to tell you, but he's a dog. Kinda sad though, since it's a skeleton. I wonder what happened to him. Now, unfortunately, this guy is a Trap Team core, which means that he is not powerful at all. I don't know what they were thinking when they made all of these guys so rubbish, but I don't care, because he's creative, he's cool, and most importantly, he is fast. I love a fast character, and this guy's second attack lets him drive around in a bone wheel, which is pretty awesome. But with upgrades, you can kind of fix him up a little bit, so there you go.
So my number 2 is the OG, the original Ghost Roaster from Skylanders Sparrow's Adventure. Now, I do have a little bit of bias towards this character because he is featured in my favourite Adventure Pack level, the Dark Knight Krypt, because that level itself is fantastic. But the character as well is worth for 20 quid for the Adventure Pack alone, because first of all he has a really awesome personality. Watching him laugh as he consumes his enemies, I should say, it's just a really fun personality trait for him to have. Of course, his design is also really cool, and it takes risks because it's a very freaky looking design, which I can imagine a lot of kids would be scared of, and because of that wouldn't want to play with him. So I really do like the fact that the developers took a risk with this Skylander and designed him in a way that he looks unique to the other Skylanders and a bit more freaky than what the target demographic might appreciate, mind you. But that doesn't stop me from playing him and enjoying his personality, which is conveyed through the figurine alone. I mean, like, seriously, look at how expressive that face is. So it's a very cool figurine, needless to say. And I haven't even touched upon the gameplay yet, because this guy is very, very powerful. Even for Sparrow's Adventure standards, he absolutely annihilates his enemies. He just goes straight into combat, and within a few mere hits, enemies are done for. And that's due in part to the high, powerful attacks he can deal, for high damage numbers he can create. And he's also really speedy as well, so once again, just like Fright Rider, that perfect blend of power and speed just makes his gameplay all the more fun because of it.
And my number one favourite Undead Skylander is Krypt King. This guy is amazing, and unlike Funnybone, he is a powerful trap team character. He looks awesome, he plays awesome, and I could blabber on about him for ages and ages. I've made so many videos talking about how awesome this guy is that I'm kind of running out of ideas. Sorry, Krypt King. Also, if you do not have this Skylander, I will burn your house down, okay? Go get this Skylander before it's too late. So that's it from me. If you want to see some more of this amazing face, then go and have a look at my channel. Thank you, Ignite, for asking me to do this video. It's been such an honour, and I'll see you guys around. Goodbye.
Once you combine both mine and Krusher's lists together, we have none other than Grim Creeper at number 10, Fright Rider number 9, Night Shift number 8, Rattleshake number 7, Chop Chop number 6, Shortcut number 5, Funny Bone number 4, Ghost Roaster number 3, and Krypt King at number 2. And that leads us to our very prestigious number 1 spot. Receiving the gold medal for the Undead element is none other than Roller Brawl. I was not lying when I said Swap Force had a really strong Undead element. So did Trap Team, come to think of it. Like, Batspin would have easily been my number 6 if I could have included her as number 6 on the list, mind you. But maintaining that girl power, you could say, of the Undead element leads us on to my favourite Undead character, Roller Brawl. Which, straight up, one of the main reasons why I love this character so much is how surprising she was to me. When I first saw her design, I wasn't all that impressed and didn't think she'd be all that good in game. But then when I finally bought her and started playing as a character, I instantly fell in love. Earlier, I was praising characters for a perfect blend of speed and power. Well, Roller Brawl has it all. She has speed, she has power, and better yet, because of her knockback, she can create some really interesting combos that are really fun to pull off, and her animations are even better yet. For spinning, the skating, the slicing and dicing she does is all very well animated, all with a very strong personality to top it off. I really love playing with Rollerball just because it's so awesome to watch her spout her one-liners and her puns and everything. And there's also the epic design. I love the fact that the helmet is not only like a biker helmet, but it's also got that undead aesthetic to it, with it being like skeletal based. So it's a very good amalgamation of both a skater and a vampire-based design, both of which I have a slight bias towards, so again, that's another reason why I love this character, I suppose. And she's also my mate Luke Smith's favourite Skylander, so I've got to honour her somehow on this list. And there's just several reasons why Rollerball is my favourite Undead. She is awesome and a huge surprise to me, so there's no other spot really for her than the number 1 spot. She, quite frankly, has earned it. But that basically does it for our top 10 Undead Skylanders. I know it's very unfortunate that the Elemental top 10s come to an end at this. And when I said I was saving the best for last at the beginning, it was very clearly a joke, because Krusher isn't necessarily better than any other SkyTubers. Of course, I have my favourites, but I'm not going to actually show actual bias on my videos. So yeah, it's just to reiterate that was a joke at the beginning. Not that I don't like Krusher at all. I do really like him, which is why he's collaborated with me on this list, which I really appreciate, dude. But regardless, once again, enough of my blabbering. It's time to end off this video. Now, next Thursday, rather than having an Elemental top 10, you have a special surprise waiting for you. But until such a moment, peace! And thank you as always for watching.